Let's talk for just a moment about rubrics from the student perspective. Last week we looked at the instructor perspective. Now let's look a little bit about this from the student perspective. Thinking as a student, there are basically three questions that I would like to address. First is, do students really use rubrics? If we're going to spend the time to create them, are they going to be used? And if they are used, how are they used by the student? I want to know what advantages there are to the student with using rubrics and the disadvantages when rubrics are used. So let's address the question of, do students really use rubrics and how? Yes, definitely students really use rubrics. I had a situation one time where rubrics had been developed for a lot of the assignments, and then one assignment I had not developed a rubric for, and immediately upon opening the assignment, they were looking for the rubric, and this was one that for reasons of my own I did not design a rubric for. And throughout the whole process of their doing the assignment, they were communicating back and forth. I don't feel as confident. I'm having problems with this. I'm not really sure that I know what to do. And so, yes, the students found that the rubrics that they had been using had been very helpful to them. And so, yeah, students are going to use them, and they're going to use them a lot if they're presented in a valid way. Rubrics are used by students to help them understand the instructor's expectations, and so they help you to understand what the instructor is looking for, what they expect. And they're also used for self-assessment. So a lot of times when I'm doing assignments myself where there's a rubric, I will read the assignment, I will go back and look over the rubric to make sure I understand the main criterion. And then I will do my assignment, but before I submit it, I go back to that rubric and I look at the specific details and did I address this or not? So for me, it's a way to help me assess the quality of the work before I ever submit it. Advantages to students: better understanding the instructor expectation. It helps them create better quality work. It builds self-esteem. If I feel like I've got a good work that I'm getting ready to submit, and then I come back from the instructor and I have in fact met the instructor's expectation, that's going to help build self-esteem. It's going to help build confidence that yes, I really can do that. And we know that we have a lot of students in our classes that have very low self-esteem for varying reasons, but this is one way we can help them. It helps to better communication between the student and the instructor. If I'm having problems with an assignment and I have a rubric, then I can pick the part of that rubric where I'm having problems and take that to the instructor and ask more specific questions. A lot of times without a rubric, when I give an assignment, they'll say, I don't understand. And I go, okay, what is it you don't understand? And they can't even articulate what it is they don't understand, where the rubric helps them break it down and they can go, yeah, I can do this, yeah, I can do this. I don't get this. And so then they can say, okay, this is what I don't understand. This is what I don't get. And then they can actually get better feedback from the instructor because of the way the rubric is designed. You can actually key in to specific areas to give them feedback, and it helps them to understand what's going on. Disadvantages for the student are that overuse of rubrics can diminish the value to the student. If it's just, you did it or you didn't do it, you don't need a rubric. A pass-fail type thing doesn't need a rubric. If it's something very simple that the directions can very clearly spell out, I mean, you do this, you do this, you do this, and, it's either right or wrong, then you don't really need a rubric. And so if we overuse them, then when we get to that assessment that really needs a rubric, they're not going to look at it. They're not going to give it credence. Poorly written rubrics can diminish creativity and lessen the learning. We talked about that last week in Module 2. And also poorly written rubrics can frustrate and discourage students. She looked at the rubric and saw that, hey, if I had not included examples from good and bad experiences, then I would have made a 50% on this, and that just seems, from the question, to lose half the points and fail because I didn't provide these examples just doesn't seem right. And so, it can create frustration and discourage students when what they're looking for. So we have to be really careful for that. So that is rubrics from the student perspective.